Hey, thanks for joining me. I'm going to look at Punisher War Journal number 30. I'm pretty sure around about 3-ish years ago, the beginning of my YouTube channel, I've already looked at this book with my brother. And I've gone over this once, but it's been quite a while, and I kind of dug it out and want to look at it again. This is one of those books where I was deep into reading comic books at this time. When was this thing published? Let me look. Yeah, 91. So I'd been reading comics for a couple of years at this point, and there was just all kinds of just crazy fun stuff coming out, and Punisher and Ghostrider were just some of the coolest characters out there. Um, my younger brother specifically was really into the Punisher. I mean, I liked him too. We all kind of like different characters for different reasons, but my younger brother, he was collecting the Punisher, and this book is one of those that I remember that he had, and it was his copy, and I would flip through it and I would look at it, and I kind of keep forgetting about it. And as I flip through this thing, all these memories of these different parts of this book come up. I'm like, holy crap! I completely forgot about this thing. It's just one of those like ways to kind of tap into your childhood when there's something that you've looked at a whole bunch of times and then you kind of forget about it for decades, and then you kind of look at it again for the first time in forever, and you're like, oh my god, right, this cool thing, which is comic books in general. If you've been reading them for a long time, you collect them forever, and then you could get, next thing you know, you're buried under hundreds, maybe thousands of books, and you wonder how much money you've spent on all this stuff. Anyway, this book, I love this cover. And it doesn't say anywhere on there that I can identify who drew it, but I'm pretty sure that's a Michael Golden. Can you guys correct me on that? He's one of those artists who I just kind of missed his work almost completely. And I hear nothing but these amazing things about him. And I keep running into the stuff here and there periodically, and I'm like, God damn, this is really good. Now, this is going to be embarrassing if that's not who this is, but I'm pretty sure that's who the cover artist is, because I'm also pretty sure it doesn't list in the credits here who did the cover. But that's a Michael Golden, right? This is why I'm unsure, because like I said, I'm not familiar enough with his art to be one to be able to speak on it really. But he does have a kind of a distinctive style that I feel like he's one of those guys that was like a big early influence on the Image guys, like the way that Art Adams was. Michael Golden had a big influence on him. But what a really solid drawing. Lots of energy and action. I mean, Punisher zipping away on a bullet bike, looking behind him as this giant machine of some type is exploding, and Ghostrider just bursting out of it. That is awesome. Like, that is just a fantastic cover. The coloring is great. Having that bright explosions of whites and yellows and, warm tones in the background, and these cool colors on the bikes of Ghostrider and Punisher. That is just fantastic. I also kind of think this corner box is fucking hilarious. Just imagine these two like posing for a picture. Like, all right, guys, get back to back. We're going to take a picture. It's like kind of stupid and perfectly hilarious, and I wouldn't ever change it. But I think it's a continuing part of I kind of get the feeling that this is a story that was going on in the comic at least one issue before. I may not be exactly right on that. It's just one of those things where it's a book that I, like I said, me or my younger brother, we picked up when we were way young. Again, this is 91. So I'm like 14 years old. It's so hard to imagine being that young. That's how old my oldest boy is going to be here in about 2 months. But there's this silly idea that kind of like, it's one of those things that would work in a comic book, but I don't see how it would ever work in real life, and that's fine. But there are these bad guys, and they have this giant armored vehicle thing that just like roams the highways of the city. And I think there gets to be a point later on in the book where there's like at least one other component, like a second vehicle, and they merge together and form this giant roving armored vehicle. with a bunch of bad guys in it, some kind of technological amazing thing. So now the roving vehicle is kind of fine, but the idea that it's in a major city, I mean, isn't Frank Castle set in New York City? Isn't he typically in New York? I've never been to New York, but I kind of get the feeling that traffic fucking sucks. And so the idea of this giant roving vehicle, and then they get trapped because, traffic is backed up for miles and they just can't go anywhere. It doesn't make sense to just be a rolling machine on the highways where your time of rolling freedom is very limited. That aside, these bad guys, they apparently don't know who the fuck the Punisher is. Because, I mean, I guess they do. No, I know. I mean, the Skull Man awakes. What's your name, Skull Man? And so he's like, take these shackles off and we'll talk. Like, we'll talk now, and whether you live to get those shackles off depends on what I hear. So, talk, stranger. Who are you? He's like, call me Frank. It's like, so these criminals with this highly advanced technology never heard of the Punisher? Like, you don't have to know his name is Frank Castle, but like, guy with skull on his chest, and they're like, who are you? These guys should be like, holy fucking shit, we got the Punisher. Mike Baron writer, TEX is the artist. Gregory Wright, the coloring on this book is another one of these examples of this old newsprint and then these kind of flat colors before glossy paper and super crazy computer coloring. But the coloring in this stuff looks so good. It's such an odd color palette. I mean, they're inside this machine, so it's, there's not like sunlight or anything like that. It's like a dark machine, and there's computerized lights casting everywhere. So the lighting kind of makes sense. But I just love the way that these colors, the color choices on everything in here. It's just crazy how there's a specific look going on books like this, where again, it's not like what would be coming very shortly in the comics world with, again, the glossy paper and the computer coloring. You can make this stuff look absolutely fantastic. This shot of Punisher with like the yellow rim lighting around his head and down his side, and then this shot here with like the flesh tone and then the highlighted yellow on the backside of him there, contrasted with like the cool tones on his outfit and then that weird flat color behind him. I don't get how these guys are able to make these choices with the coloring beyond that. They know exactly what they're doing and make it work so perfectly. It looks so good. But the story, like, here's this giant tank just flying down the highway, and they're like talking to Frank. They captured him. They got him. And they're like, Frank, you were chasing this guy. And Frank says, I don't like bikes that are faster than mine. So the bad guy says, right, listen, I don't know who you are, but you'd be dead by now if you weren't so good on that bike of yours. So you get one chance to join us before we do kill you. You ready? So they're like, all right, you're kind of cool. So we're going to give you a chance to join the cool crowd, but you got to prove yourself to us. This is what, it's kind of a stupid story point. But Frank's like, all right, I don't have a choice, I guess I don't have a choice. And Frank's like, how do you know I'm not a cop? Like, well, believe me, we're going to make sure. So they give him a needle and sodium pentothal, the truth agent. Like a truth serum, which I think is bullshit. I don't think that stuff actually really works the way that it's kind of been portrayed, is my understanding. But anyway, they inject him with the needle. And so Frank he's drugged up, and now they're questioning him. Like, who are you really? Frank Rook. And why are you chasing our courier, this big vehicle that they're in? He's like, I knew he was some sort of carrier, thought I could take him down. Heard about the island, thought he'd have money or drugs. So the island is the name of this big machine, if I am understanding correctly. So anyway, they keep talking back and forth. Do you use drugs? Frankie's like, speed, heroin. So the bad guys are like, well, any man who can handle a bike like you who handle a bike like you can belongs on the island, meaning they're weird, super roving machine here. So they're kind of like they're testing him. They find out that he uses a lot of drugs, but you're so good on a bike, maybe you could join our crew. Like, this is really stupid. Honestly, it's just so silly. But they're like, all right, yeah. The bad guys are like, you're in. Today you'll see the operation, maybe run a little errand for us. We've been shorthanded since Blake cracked up Wednesday night. The Ghostrider got him. Tonight you have to pass a little initiation test, strictly a formality. They're like, well, what kind of test? Frank is saying. He says, you smoke the rock while pulling a ton on your bike. Yeah, you smoke the rock while pulling a ton on your bike. It's to check your hand-eye coordination. And Frank's like, well, what is it, crack? He's like, it's spin. I invented it. It's more fun than crack and even better for you. In fact, it's time for a little wake me up. Join me? So they're going to smoke crack. And Frank's like, sure, why not? But then Frank is thinking to himself, good thing Microchip forced him to take those time-released homostasis capsules. So he preemptively took some drugs to counteract the other drugs so he could keep his mind about him. There's a lot of fun emotion in the face. TEX is so good at this stuff, making Frank Castle look kind of creepy and weird, and he's kind of spun out from this truth serum they're giving him. But now Frank's going to smoke crack with the bad guys, which I'm not joking. He literally does. He smokes a pipe, and he's just hoping that the anti-drugs that Micro made him take will actually do the job. Like, good stuff, Frankie. And Frank's thinking to himself, my heart must concentrate on breathing, get it under control. Anyway, now the bad guy's like, dude, come up to the front of this truck. I got some cool shit to show you. Again, this story is just making me laugh out loud. They're like, we just found this guy who's just awesome on a bike, and he has a big skull on his front of his chest. We're going to smoke crack with him and let him join our crew. These guys are fucking stupid. Anyway, see, he's like, hey, check out our crazy advanced technology. Look at this computer screen. See those little red blips? All parts of the island, meaning this technology, this vehicle that they're running around in, we're all parts of the island. We cruise independently and link up after dark. So, they just cruise the streets of the city in a giant armored tank down the highway. Cops don't try and pull them over. It's just fine. And then at night, they link up and form a giant rolling super tank. And so Frank asked the obvious question, why link at all? Why link up at all? Why create the rolling juggernaut? Bad guy says, it is written, Frank. The swift will inherit the earth. Society is becoming more warlike with each passing year. Soon, only mobile villages such as ours will be able to survive by picking up stakes en masse. I don't expect you to understand this. It took me years to formulate my theories. So, okay, they chit-chat back and forth. But then they're like, all right, Frank, now the next part of your test is coming up. We're going to take you down and show you this bike. So Frank gets down there. I got to say, this bike that they put Frank Castle on here, the Punisher, it's not as awesome looking. Like this bike up front, that is badass. Obviously referenced off something. I'm not going to say that TEX referenced anything off that there. Maybe. But he also, TEX draws a super badass Ghostrider motorcycle, so I don't know. Again, the coloring, these highlights on his body there, coloring is just kicking ass. But anyway, Frank's like, well, this isn't my bike, and crack smoking bad guy is like, hey, I designed it myself. It's the onboard gyro lets you corner 20% faster than the latest race bikes. We'll drop you at the West Side Highway. You're to deliver the package to so-and-so and so-and-so. And, of course, if you fail to return by sundown, we'll blow your arm off wherever you are by remote. Usually kills you, especially if you're at speed. So, yeah, they're sending him on a mission, but the test is, like, if you don't get back in time, we've got something wired on you to blow your arm off, and if you're riding the bike, it'll really kill you for sure. And so they're like, hey, Frank's like, can I have my own motorcycle helmet back with the skull on? And the guy's like, sure, give him back his thing. And then the bike just takes off. And even Frank is saying that with the gyro and gas turbine engine, this bike is light years ahead of anything I've ridden so far. And And so as Frank zips down the road, he says, I'm going to hate myself for this, but I need someone like Ghostrider to beat that thing. He's been seen in Queens a lot lately. He says, I can cruise in and out of traffic at 100 miles an hour. Stealth hardware makes me invisible to radar. I'll be in Manhattan in minutes. I'm going to guess that there's obviously some like photo looks like they took an actual photo of something on a bike and it put it in there. I doubt that TEX drew this by hand, because why the hell would you? How god-awful tedious would that be? Perfect. It looks awesome. But then Frank is still freaking out. Like, he's still tripping on drugs. He's tripping balls, but he keeps his shit together. All right, got to keep it under 60. I'm going to go ask these... So Frank's like, I know Ghostrider is supposed to be in this part of town somewhere. So he's just going to stop by and start asking people, hey, kid, you know where I can find Ghostrider? And of course, this is Danny Ketch. That is Ghostrider. Isn't that fucking lucky? But of course, Danny's like, no, what do you want with him? And so he says, put the word out. The Punisher's looking for him. Well, that was convenient. This is a comic book. And then Frank just takes off, gets up on the back wheel. You know, I didn't know Frank was such a badass bike rider. As Frank takes off, Danny Ketch, he's like, well, that's just what I need. The Punisher, hope meeting him last night was just a fluke. So obviously, I guess they're referring to a previous story. The Ghostrider won't help him. Why should he? Why would the Ghostrider want to help Punisher? Anyway, he just kind of looks and like, holy shit. This guy comes along, hey, Ketch, who was your buddy on the bike? And Ketch is like, I don't know, just somebody just asking for directions. Back with Frank, he has to deliver these drugs or whatever that he was supposed to do. So he's into this sleazy, horrible building with writing all over the walls and everything. Bunch of strung out drug addicts. And so they show up and they just think that Frank Castle's outfit is so cool, they want to have it, so they're all going to fight him and take his clothes. They like his leather shits. And, of course, this is just an excuse to get Frank to beat the shit out of some drugged up criminals. So he beats the shit out of him. What's funny is whenever I see these two shots right here, 1,000 billion years ago, when I was an early teenager, when this comic was first coming out, so like 14 years old, and I started drawing my first comic book on my own ever, I copied these two panels and drew them into my own book for my main character, who was like a visual combination of like Punisher physically, but with long black hair, and he literally had Wolverine's claws and an outfit that looked like a combination of Daredevil and Archangel. And if that sounds fucking awful, you are correct. Because I was a 14-year-old kid trying to do the coolest things I could have. He also had a power source like Darkhawk, a little crystal in his chest. I was mixing and mashing just everything I could come up with. But I used these fight scenes and kind of looked at them as reference and drew them on my own in my first comics. And boy, did I do a terrible job. But I look at these panels and I'm just instantly a kid again. Just like, oh, I got to draw my guy kicking the shit out of a guy's face. Good stuff. But yeah, elbow to the jaw, kick to the guy's head, and Punisher just beat the shit out of him. Now he's met up with this guy who's supposed to deliver drugs to. I kind of like this foot. Just this drawing of a frickin' foot up there. That's hilarious. Frank, the guy's already unconscious probably. He's going to give him a nice knee to the jaw just to, drive home the point. Sets him down. Frank's like, hey, I got this thing on my arm. They're going to blow my arm off. So, they chit-chat back and forth, and this guy kind of tells Frank about the island, those roving tanks. He's like, the island relies on a new form of technology called fuzzy logic to negotiate traffic and link up. Okay, sure, fuzzy logic. So they chat back and forth. This guy's going to give Frank a disc. He's like, if you can upload this into the island, it'll disrupt everything, screw them all up, and you can take him out. There's this funny little side story that down on the ground, Frank's bike that he was on, he's parked it while he's inside this building, and a couple of street thugs are looking at the bike. And so Frank leans out the window, takes his coffee cup, and drops it so it smashes on the guy's head. You get these three little panels of Frank doing a little finger wag. Like, Just a funny little gag to throw in there. Anyway, whoever the fuck this guy is gives Frank a disc. Frank's back on his bike, zipping down the highway. I do have to say, it is visually awesome that Frank Castle, he's got a Punisher skull on his chest. He's wearing a motorcycle helmet with the Punisher skull on it. And he runs into the Ghostrider with the literal flaming skull himself. Like the visual kind of syncing up is just a badass thing with Punisher, Ghostrider, skull, symbology. And of course, TEX draws the coolest Ghostrider ever, especially this specific 90s Danny Ketch version. I don't think there's ever been a cooler version. Then you can kind of vary up Ghostrider a lot. You can change his bike. You can change his outfit. As long as he's a flaming skull on a motorcycle with flaming wheels, people are going to be like, that's Ghostrider. But this version is my favorite, and no one does it better than TEX. That shit looks awesome. But yeah, Ghostrider rolls up. He's like, beware you who seek the Ghostrider. You may find him, right? So Frank Castle, he's like, Ghostrider, we got to talk, motherfucker. And so they stand there. And Frank says, I have a plan if you'll shut up long enough to hear me out. And Ghostrider says, quiet, it is you who are a threat to society. It's you who deliver drugs to innocent citizens. Frank's like, innocent citizens? Hey, look, this is part of my cover. I don't like it, but there's bigger fish to fry here than a few junkies. Ghostrider throws him up against the wall. You judge so rashly. I'll show you the folly of your ways. So he's going to give him the penance stare. Y'all know what Ghostrider can do with that penance stare thing. And Frank, he knows about it. He's like, get out of that face. Get out of my face. That penance stare won't work with me. And Ghostrider says, my stare is not what you need. Look into your own soul. So a close-up on Frank's eyes, and he shoves Ghostrider off. He's like, you're right. I'll go to confession tomorrow, I swear. Ghostrider says, you try to hide your fear. You are not innocent, but perhaps you prey only on the guilty. My mission is my own, but I will listen to your plan. So they kind of avoided having a fight, but there had to be a little bit of tension. Like, why would Ghostrider link up with Frank Castle? Gotta say, I love that freaking skull right there. TEX, I say he draws the best Ghostrider, and he draws the best skull on Ghostrider. It looks sinister and evil. Like, it's an interesting character with Ghostrider to make him the good guy when he's a flaming skull spirit from hell, it seems like. And that is just some sinister, evil looking shit. But I like that he's the hero of the book. Love it. It's so awesome. Anyway, they're going to work together. Hell yeah. So now we get with these machines, the island, and they are in separate components. It says a sleek sports coupe, tailgates an 18-wheeler, bulkheads buckle, bumpers blend into the frame, strange sockets mate with flexible sprockets. That kind of turned me on the way that was worded. As the sports car links up, other flanges unfold like the limbs of some tropical insect. They converge like hornets on a hive, blending into the whole until at last the juggernaut is formed. So there's like a hot rod car and a rolling tank and an actual giant tank with multiple gun turrets flying down the road. And just like a transformer, they merge into a combiner and then their ultimate form. And again, they're just flying down the freeway. In New York, they would get stuck in traffic. But now they're this giant, scary machine. And I'm like, they gotta be using some kind of bullshit comic book fuel source, because that shit would run out of gas so fast. Anyway, Frank, he shows back up. Did I miss that? No. All right. Oh yeah, they're like, where's Frank? He's like, hey, they just picked him up. There he is. So Frank's there, and he just subtly is slipping this CD disc into the computer terminal inside the machine. A good thing he's not accidentally slipping a CD into, like, the radio. You know, a good thing he knows where to put it secretly, drops it in there, and the disc would have to start running its program and to help disable the machine. But Frank instantly, he's on there, but he's in there with a bunch of crack addicts, so I guess it's not too hard. Anyway, the guy's like, hey, all right, you're a natural. You're kind of a badass. We're kind of willing to take a chance on you. So we got some more shit to do. Let's get going. And so they put Frank back on his bike. The bike automatically starts accelerating on its own to get him out. So Frank is ejected from the giant rolling tank. And but they have a plan set up Frank's this kind of got this panic look on his face. He says, must follow the pattern exactly. My timing's got to be perfect. There's the bridge. The pipe's starting to glow with a killer jolt of spin. I don't know what that's supposed to mean. The pipe's starting to glow. I don't fucking care. The point being is that Frank ducks under this tunnel on his bike. And then the island, the giant rolling tank goes zipping by, and there's Ghostrider. What a great shot. Low angle, like the camera is sitting right on the ground, so your eye line is even with the feet and the wheels flat on the ground looking up at him. Looks perfect. Ghostrider's like, I see it. And then because the guys in the rolling tank, they saw Frank disappear into a tunnel, and then coming out of the tunnel is Ghostrider. They all just assume that Frank is Ghostrider. They're like, look, down on the highway, it's Ghostrider. Frank is the Ghostrider. Bro, blow his arm off. Blow his fucking head off. They're like, hey, you got it. Like, oh, wait. Who turned off the weapons computer? And then there's an explosion because Frank got off the motorcycle. That thing was rigged to blow. So Frank's off of it. He's like, holy shit, that was cutting it kind of close. And so he's like, so Microchip is there. He's like, well, I got your own bike stashed over here, Frank. So the bike he was on, it blew up. But bad guys think that Frank is Ghostrider. I mean, holy shit. Has anybody ever done that story where Frank Castle gets the powers of Ghostrider? He would fucking love that. He just wants to exact justice on criminals, and he gets the power of the spirit of vengeance. Can you imagine Frank with the skull turning into Ghostrider? That shit writes itself. Somebody has to have done that story already. God, now I want to do it. Was that Microchip? Whatever. Anyway. Yeah, so the bad guys in the tank, the crack-smoking junkies, they are like, he's coming this way, use the rocket launcher. Again, love that shot of Ghostrider, kind of lightly rendered. They fire the frickin' tank, and so explosion, and again, great shot, great explosion, great energy, fantastic coloring, with the background being this like red, and then these yellows and blues on Ghostrider. That shit looks so cool. Like, is it any wonder how could any kid look at this and not go, that's just the coolest thing I've ever seen? And Ghostrider's giving his speeches, he's like, you who prey on the weakness of others, you'll know how it feels to be the prey. But then the guys are like, their computers are freaking out because Frank uploaded that computer system. It's fucking up everything that they've got. Ghostrider, God, another great shot of a skull. Look at that Ghostrider. That looks so good. And I'm loving the coloring. This is just as one of the best drawn books with Punisher or Ghostrider with the TEX art. This shit is just fantastic. But yeah, Ghostrider just keeps blabbing. He doesn't actually do anything. He just showed up and avoided a couple of shots. He's like, all who victimize innocent will suffer. And the crack addicts, like their freaking rolling tank just detonates. Boom, it blows up. And that's a great shot. Frank, Microchip, I guess, Ghostrider from standing above as the thing blows up. I mean, the thing's supposed to be rolling down the freeway. Is it going in circles or something? Anyway, problem solved. It blows up. Ghostrider looks awesome right there. Bad guy gets out on his own bike, and he takes off, and they just let him go, I guess. And Ghostrider rides off into the sky, which is that something that Ghostrider's always been able to do? I mean, I guess he could just be jumping or something, but can Ghostrider ride in the sky? It's almost a song lyric right there. Ghostrider says, Punisher, though your methods are harsh, you do punish the guilty. We part neither friends nor enemies this time, but I'll be watching you. And Frank's like, yeah, same to you, freak. And then, Frank and Microchip have to get on a bike and get out of there, and Frank's telling Microchip to suck in his gut because Frank's getting smashed up against the gas tank. And there's just this awesome, like, ominous, again, a beautiful skull that TEX draws with the flame colors around it. Just this ominous scene of him kind of hovering in the sky, like Ghostrider's out there. He's scary, and it's frightening, and it's awesome. So yeah, just kind of a simple, kind of silly story. So well drawn. Everything about this book is like text art, beautiful, perfect. The coloring is amazing. You get Punisher, you get Ghostrider, you get explosions, you get motorcycles. What more could you want? Like hot naked girls? I mean, right. But it's pretty badass. And so again, this is just one of those books from my childhood that I remember looking at. And again, it wasn't mine. It belonged to one of my brothers. And so I'd periodically pick it up and look at it when I'd have my own books that I had bought, and I'd flip through those like nonstop. But then you go and pick up I have two brothers, and we each kind of all had our own pile of books as we got older. And this is one of those that's just a fun, simple adventure. Just a one-off crazy Punisher adventure with Ghostrider. It's just good times. I freaking love it. Anyway, that's all I've got. Nothing more to say, I guess. So thanks for joining me as always. I really appreciate it. I'll see you next time.